Awesome. Well, this is the Big Friendly Swim podcast. I'm the Big Friendly host, and today's guest is a Cal Bear, a Belgian national team member, and a Belgian Olympian. Lucas, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Ahmad. How are you? Good to be on.
I'm doing good. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, excited.
So we're going to get things started right away here. Walk me through this progression. This is such an interesting career path to go from swimmer/golfer to pure golf to pure swimming. What about your athletic experiences over such a fairly varied athletic career do you think has been critical in shaping you today?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a lot of sports when I was a kid, I played field hockey as well. It's quite big here in Belgium, and a little bit of basketball, and alongside swimming and golf. And then, right when I was about 15, I was like, oh, maybe I was swimming, but nothing crazy. I wouldn't make finals at the national juniors or something. And then I decided, oh, let's go for golf, and let's try to get good at that, because I really enjoyed doing that. My dad's a coach. My whole family's really into swimming. So it was quite the departure from the norm, I guess, in my family to go for the golf route and stop swimming. And yeah, I played golf, finished high school early at around 16. Then I went for 1 year to a golf academy, 1 year to play NCAA golf at University of South Carolina, Beaufort. And then kind of when I was there, I realized how hard it is to make tour level golf. There's only maybe 150 guys that 200 guys maybe that make a living out of playing golf on the PGA Tour. And I realized that it was going to be really, really tough. Also, I wasn't playing as many tournaments as what I would have hoped in college. So I decided to just come back at 19 to Europe to do my studies. And right around when COVID started, I started trying to get back into shape. And then, because my dad was coaching and my sister was swimming, I was like, oh, why not just go back into the pool? But I hadn't trained in over 5 years, and I think what's good with golf, and that's taught me a lot, is you got to be really patient in golf. The changes you make today might only show up in a year's time or something, and that really helps me see the bigger picture in swimming, and kind of set longer term goals rather than being focused on the next meet or the next training session, that kind of stuff.
It's such an interesting progression. When I was looking you up to do some research for this, that you were 200, I think, in 2021, and the rapid progression from doing 200 to I think you went 148 a year and a half later, more or less, in the 200 free.
Yeah, pretty much. I think with my dad, who was coaching me at the time, we did things right. But yeah, you're right. In 2020, I did a meet at the end of might not even be on SwimCloud, but I did, and I went 4:14 in the 400. At the end of 2020, December. And then by July 2021, I was 359. By April 2022, I was 351. And then a year later, I was 346, So the progression's been quite quick, which is great, But I really think it's because we put we didn't try to burn any phases, but we did everything right. We started by focusing on technique first, and we built a training base to be able to train at a high level. Then we brought in some speed after that, and for the first 2 years I was training, I was just training to get better with no real goals. I didn't taper ever, I just trained for 2 years straight, just because I enjoyed swimming, and I was just no real goals to try to make teams or anything like that. And I think that was good, because I didn't have any interruption in my training for meets, for tapers, for holidays, that kind of stuff. And that's, I think, why the progression was so quick.
Your body probably had some sort of a base to fall back on that helped that rapid progression, but the obviously the work that you put in and probably not tapering for 2 years built up that base really, really quickly.
Yeah, I think so. And it's just like at the start, I wasn't like training to race. I was just training, to train and to get better at training, which like helped. I think that helped a lot. But then, yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I was like just really, really short, really skinny, but I had like a good stroke already. And I think like when I came back and we like focused on technique a lot, and like my dad would have me do these sets where it'd be like you're just swimming aerobic, but like as soon as you go over 28 strokes, you just stop and you just go 50s at 28 stroke, like 28 strokes. Like it was always efficiency first, and that for like quite a long time to like build the stroke up to be able to last for like 200s, 400s, 800s and up,
Now, I think this might be a fun question to talk about, and it's probably a very wild difference, but can you contrast the differences between playing golf at an NAIA college and then swimming for a college that has been top 2 in the country for the past 15 years?
Yeah, like the difference in like just even like budget is crazy. Like I got there to USCB, and it was just like we got given a bag and like a putter cover, But like if we wanted golf balls, we had to like buy them at a discount, And there at Cal, you've got everything's just there for you. All the equipment you need, all the physiotherapy you need. The coaching staff is great, like, I mean, with Marsh, Durden, now Josh, like it's just amazing, and just that was probably the main difference. We were just like hopping from course to course to try to play and train at different courses. But and at Berkeley, you've got like 250-meter pools just like ready to use anytime, So that was like probably the biggest difference. But then as well, like in golf, you only have 5 people playing in the tournament, So we were like 14 guys on the team. There's only 5 guys who are playing. So obviously you got to be like really, and we were like a top NAIA school. Like we were ranked like top 5. They've been ranked top 5 forever. And when I was playing like the whole season, I think we were even top 3. And so it's still like quite high level, but like, there's 9 guys who just stay at home every weekend, while dual meets everyone swimming pretty much. And conference everyone swimming. Then if you qualify for NCs, you still have 18 guys who go, So that was probably the biggest difference. But, still like even those guys that I played with in my first year, now a lot of them are like pro. One guy's on the Corn Ferry Tour, so they're like second level of, right below the PGA Tour. And then there's a couple of guys who are playing PGA Tour Canada. So like quite high level still.
I think especially in recent years, we've seen like you don't necessarily have to come from a D1 college or from one of the top programs in the country. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of him. I interviewed a guy earlier this year who came from like a mid-major D1 school. His name was Brian Benzing.
Yeah,
went 50.5 in the 100 breaststroke, second to NCAAs. Like, it really shows, like, wherever you go, as long as it's the right fit for you, that, like, something will work out.
Yeah. But, like, there's 2 things. Like, I have 2 stories on this. Like, I don't know. Well, do you know Luke Rodart? He was in the final at the.
Yeah.
Yeah. At trials, in the 100 breast. Like, he almost made the Olympic team. Just was like 0.2 or 0.3 off.
That whole final was so close.
Yeah, it was so close. I was watching Liam. I'm pretty close with Liam Bell, and Luke as well. Like I roomed with him at OTC this year, and I was just watching them. But like Luke was like a national team skier until like 2019 or something, and then just like started swimming breaststroke, and he just has a natural kick, and breaststroke's the only thing he can do, but he does it really, really well, and yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are athletes. And also, like, I was at the Olympics and I met this French guy from, he's a water polo player. And I'm just chatting to him and I'm like, oh, what do you guys do for training and stuff? And he's like, oh yeah, we swim quite a lot, etc. And I'm like, oh, have you ever done a meet? And he's like, yeah, I did like a 50 one-time long course. And I was like, oh, what'd you go? And he goes like, oh, 22.6. 22.6. Like long course? And he goes, yeah, long course. And I'm like, dude, like, you're like a real swimmer. He's like, no, I just didn't have a suit, didn't have a cap, and just went 22.6. I was like, this is crazy. And these guys are, especially in the sprints, like, if you're like a real athlete and you like have a good feel for the water, you can pick it up quite quick, I think.
I have a kind of similar story. So I swam for community college out in Livermore, and my third year on the team, we had a guy come in who was purely water polo, had never swam seriously competitively in his life, had literally just done like summer league 50s and the 100 IM. Yeah. And first meet of the season, my coach throws him in the 500 free. Okay. This guy had never swam anything above a 100 before, and I think he went like 5:10. Which, like, for somebody who hasn't like done it before, that's a really good time. And I think he got down to like 4:30 something by the end of his second year. And he like swam like the mile too. He swam the 400 IM. It was so weird to me because he was so nonchalant about it. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I just get in the water and I swim. And I'm like, yeah. You've never done this before.
Yeah. I mean, people are just like super talented it's quite cool.
So what was the point for you that you realized while you were at USCB? I almost said UCSB. That's Santa Barbara. Yeah. What was the point that you realized that golf wasn't necessarily working out, and how long did it take from that point until you made some sort of a change?
Yeah, so like when I got there, I remember, when you arrive at, like, as a freshman, to play golf in college, like one of the first things you do is like you have a qualifying tournament to see who will play in the tournaments, and there's 14 of us, and like top 5 are picked, and like the 6th guy is like kind of the 6th man. He might play a tournament, and I remember it was like maybe like 9 under to make over 6 rounds to like make top 5, and I remember I shot like maybe like 15 over or something, like average of +2, which I was like, it's not too bad, it's all right over 6 rounds. And I was like maybe like 10th out of 14, and I was like, this is going to be tough. So I grinded a lot, and like we did a second qualifying tournament and I won the tournament. So I was like, this is really good. Like, I might get to play a tournament, and I traveled to play 2 tournaments. And then I just like had an off semester in the second semester, and I just wasn't playing very well. And the guys were just like kept on shooting like 4, 5 under, 6 under in tournaments like every time, and I was like struggling, And then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not super like happy with the level of school as well at that, the academic level. Why don't I just like go back and just like do really good studies here in Belgium? And yeah, that's when I decided to come back after 1 year, and then about a year later I started swimming.
And this was a really interesting thing to me that I read about. I feel like David Marsh is excellent at recruiting. Like, he's excellent at finding people that he can connect with and having really good conversations with them. In your initial conversations with him, I believe this was after European Championships, if memory serves, or it was before it. Can you talk about like some of the things that was said between the two of you, and like what about your talk with him made you lean towards Cal as the right place for you?
Yeah, so like April 2022 was like my first meet where I did like somewhat okay. Like I think I went 352, 148, and then I got like a few like I guess offers. I think North Carolina, Alabama, or something. Sent me some texts to see if I still would have some eligibility, if I was interested, and I wasn't really like too serious about going to the US because I didn't even know like at that point if I really wanted to like swim, and like I was just like still kind of figuring it out. But then in June of that year, like a month and a half before European Championships in Rome, like Dave Marsh and Anthony Irvin are just at this event in Belgium, like super random. It's like this guy who owns like a swimming club has like a 33-meter pool, and he wanted to see if we could break the 33-meter world record, you know. And so he invited us all, invited Anthony Irvin, invited Dave Marsh to come, and I had like a training session there. And so during my training session, before the sprint, you know, my dad was coaching me, and Dave Marsh was watching me swim and like chatting to my dad. And then after, we went on like, we went and had like a drink with Marsh, Irvin, the owner of the club, my dad, and me, you know. And I was just like asking questions like the whole time for like 3 hours. I was just like with Anthony, just like, oh, tell me like when you really feel that you connect with the water, when you start feeling like pulling the scapula, you know, just like every single little detail about like the 50 free, what he thinks is different when he moves into like breathing patterns for the 100, you know, because he's been world champion in the 100 as well. So I was just like asking a bunch of questions and like super nerdy, you know, and then I was like asking questions to Marsh as well. And then like about like a few weeks later, I get a text from Marsh being like, oh, would you want to come and swim? From Matt Bow at the time. I get a text from Matt Bow like, oh, do you want to come swim at Cal? And I was like, oh, I think I thought about it for like 2 days, and then I was like, yeah, sure, 100%. And then I saw like a little bit later, I saw like Anthony Irvin at Rome European Championships, and Daniel Whiffen's calling me, but I'm not gonna answer.
No worries.
Yeah, and then I was at European Championships, and I see Anthony Irvin, and he recognized me. He's like, oh, the smart kid, you know. And I was like, oh, this is sick, you know. This is super cool. And then I was just talking to Durden after that, you know, to try to figure out when I would arrive at Cal. And yeah, I mean, Marsh is really good at recruiting, but I think it's because he also, especially internationals, the swim comments love to talk about this. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'll put the ring off. There we go. And he's really good at recruiting internationals, but I think it's because he like really values long course and international racing. So like when he's at these international meets and he sees someone who might have potential, who could swim well short course, like he goes and talks to them, wants to know what their plan is, and he's like super friendly with everyone. And he's someone like when you like connect with him, he's like very. I mean, he's been super helpful to me. You know, he always has. I can always call him. He always has like a great opinion on things, and he's just someone really great to have by your side. You know.
I feel like when he was planning out that trip to Belgium, like the conversation was like, all right, we're going to go meet this cool Belgian guy. Let's try to recruit him to Cal. All right, Anthony, come with me. We need somebody like that can chat with him for a while. Because Anthony Irvin's just like cool. Like he's just a cool guy to talk to. So there had to have been a conversation of like, all right, you come with me. We need to get you involved here.
Yeah, I mean, like I finished that conversation. I was like to my dad, "Oh, I'm gonna swim 50 free. I'm gonna go 21 flat." You know, I was just like, "Oh, I'm just like I just know how to sprint now." All of a sudden, I thought I just like, you know, knew everything about sprinting, and I was like, but it was so interesting. He's just such a cool dude, you know, and like he was just telling me like how, and from that conversation, I've just like found that he might be like the most like. His feeling is so developed with the water, like it's crazy. He was telling me how he feels that when the whole field goes towards the wall, he can feel the water dense up because, you know, you have 8 heavy guys just going to the wall and pushing water towards the wall, and he could feel the water dense up. And at that time, he'd like change his stroke to, you know, make sure he doesn't slip water on the last 10 meters. And that's why he was always like so good on the last 10, you know? And it was just super interesting.
That 50 freestyle that he did in 2016, where he winning 16 years after your first time winning an event, is like, like people don't. I think people don't talk about enough how amazing of a swim that is to go from 19 winning the 50 free and then go 35 winning the 50 free.
Yeah. And like, I mean, Manadou was a heavy favorite, and like it was quick as well. It was like 21.4, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I asked him, I was like, "Oh, you were still like quite behind after the start, you know?" Like, and he was like, "Oh, dude, that was my best start ever. Like, that was the best start I've ever had." And I was like, "All right," but yeah.
I was in the Indianapolis airport after Olympic trials, and I'm like sitting there waiting for my flight to be delayed, and my flight was delayed, and I'm waiting for it, and I just see like Brett Hawk and like his three guys that he usually works with, and Anthony Irvin all like having a drink, and they like wave to me and they like wave me over to say hi, and Anthony Irvin tells me, it's like, "Oh, dude, I love your stuff," and I'm like, "You do?"
Dude, that's so sick. Yeah, he's just the coolest. Like, when
Oh
you get
yeah, and he
compliments from
loves the
Anthony Irvin,
sport.
that just makes your day. Oh yeah. He's always there now. Like, he was at Fukuoka. I think he was in Paris. Like, he's just always there, which is
Like
cool.
he's just enjoying the ride now. Like he's put in the work and he's just enjoying the ride of being like one of the coolest guys in swimming.
Yeah.
So in your first few months at Cal, I remember reading about this, and it was crazy to me that like you dropped like I think 12 seconds in your 1000 freestyle in just your first two short course meets. So what do you think were some of your favorite memories of those first few months? And what did it mean for you to not only set a team record in your second ever short course meet, but also to be a part of a Cal winning a national title?
Yeah, so like I got there like early Jan, and then I did couple of dual meets, and like I remember the first dual meet against USC, we were unsuited, and I had no, like, in my head I thought like under 9 minutes was easy, you know. I was just like, oh yeah, like 8:50, like easy money. And then I go like 8:57, and I was like, oh yeah, it's quite. And then everyone's like, oh dude, that's like so amazing. It's, I win the race, and dude, like 8:57 unsuited, that's like super fast. It's really good. And then I was like, oh, all right, well, we'll see, you know. And then like a couple of weeks later, we go against Stanford, and we suited up for that one. And then I was just like 8:45, and people were like, "Dude, 8:45, that's like top 10 all time." So it's like super good, you know. And it's a school record. I was like, "Oh damn, like nice," because I didn't feel that it was like super weird like swimming yards. For me, it was like one extra kick and then one less stroke. You know, it wasn't like that big of a deal. But then just times didn't make sense to me, you know, like. And how hard you can push sessions compared to like long course meters is just like so different. So yeah, I just really loved the whole process. And then we went to Pac-12s, you know, and there at Pac-12s, I was like getting ready to shave, and then Dave's like, "Oh, why are you shaving?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, I haven't hit my cut yet." And he's like, "Oh, don't shave. You've got this." And then next morning, I just go in the 500, and I go like 4:11, like second or third time in the country at that point, and then qualify for NCs, and then so I get to go with the team. I was so stoked. And then a couple of weeks maybe before, I really wanted to make a relay. Like when Marsh picked me up at the airport on my arrival at Cali, was like, "Oh, I want to see you on that 8 free relay. It's going to be really tough because there's a lot of really fast guys, but you're capable of it. It'd be good, you know." And then I was like, "Oh damn, like I didn't swim a 200 because I swam like 4 IM at conference." I was like, "Oh, what can I do to like show the Dave that I've got some speed, you know?" So like I would like push the last hundreds of sets like crazy and try to go really fast and like go 45s. And then like he had me do a 200 from a swing like a week out from NCs, and I did this, and I went like 131 in training, which was good. And so they put me on the relay, and I was stoked because we got third in the relay, I think, and it was just so sick. And then the whole, like the intensity of that meet, like I think it's still higher than like the Olympics, you know. It's just like it's so cool, you know? Like 18 dudes, just like super, like everyone's got everyone's backs, you know. It's like you're watching every race, you're cheering for your teammates, you're like helping them out when it's their go-to race, you know, you're making Vitar go, you're just like, you know, you're just there for your teammates. And it's just so sick because like in Belgium and in Europe, we don't really grow up like doing sports that way. It's like a very American thing, you know? And so to be part of that and then win as well, it was just, you know, so sick. The speeches that the coaches give, that the seniors give, you know, it just gives you chills. It's great.
The NCAA system, I mean, for all of the faults logistically with the NCAA system, I think it really is one of the best sporting programs in the world because it just fosters this culture of teamwork and family and like you swim with these guys and you are friends with them for life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, it's just like you've you spend like so like the moments you spend together are so intense, and in those moments where it really matters, you're there for one another. So it's just like there's nothing really like else that you can. There's no other way that you can create relationships like that than being under pressure, like seeing your buddy and like cheering him on or doing something for him that will, that, and just like being there for him all the time, and that's why the relationships are so great,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I swam community college in Livermore. It's about like 40 minutes out from Berkeley in like the East Bay.
Okay. Yeah.
But like obviously a completely different environment, different. You mentioned the like paying for discounted golf balls earlier, and I was going to bring up we have a sponsorship with Finalist that gets us 50% off tech suits. Which, I mean, not discounting that at all. Like, it is a great like thing that we get to have that, but it just reminded me of that. I thought it was funny. But like I would not trade my time on that team for anything. Like, I am still friends with people on that team. Yeah. Like, I met my girlfriend on that team. Like, so many different things that are so valuable in college swimming that I think like everybody that is able to should at least swim at college wherever they can.
Yeah, I agree. And I see it like in Belgium. Like, sometimes stuff can be like people can be so like individualistic, and they just don't understand how like the group can just raise everyone's standards, everyone's level, and yeah, it's just like a lot of times, they get mad when they don't have their own lane, and you're just like, oh, dude, like Ryan Murphy swims like third in the lane, like all year, just like, you're 17 years old. You can't like complain because you don't have your own lane, like it's, and yeah, it's just, it's so great. And people in the rest of the world don't realize how great it is and how uplifting it can be to have teammates,
I mean, like I tell like my age group swimmers when I'm like coaching summer league, I tell them like when I order you in a lane, it's just so that you don't all run into each other. And they all look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, "What do you mean? If I'm going third in the lane, it means I'm the slowest person in the world."
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, I mean they're young.
So obviously this year was your first Olympics, and obviously there was a lot of stuff made about the Paris Olympics, about things that were going wrong and the pool depth. So the first thing I want to ask you about is the pool depth and whether or not you can give your take on that and whether or not you think it affected your overall results. I mean, you set like 3 national records, so I feel like you probably were pretty happy with the results that came for you.
Yeah, like the pool depth, it was weird because like obviously you jump in, and any other time you jump in the usually you go to the arena. Maybe the first time you swim in the like warm down pool, and then you go to the arena and you expect it to be super deep, And then here I just jumped in and my feet hit I'm like 6'5", my feet hit the floor immediately, and I was like, oh, this is quite weird. And the thing also that you have to know about like the Murtha pools, like the built up pools, is the walls are really thin, so they don't like the waves don't absorb as well as against like like actual walls. Like it moves a little bit more than if it's 2 meters deep. You're gonna have more waves in a Murtha pool than in a
especially like, those big pool. Like sideways cameras that they had lined up across the bottom of the pool. That probably didn't help. Yeah,
no. But then what I think is like, it's like little, like the waves. You're not swimming open water. It's like little waves. So like if you were like splitting the race like well, and you were like, you weren't dying, then you were probably like, and still above the water, and your kick was helping you a lot, then you were still probably above the waves, and it probably wasn't affecting you that much. But I feel like in the races where people like die, like the 100 breast, like usually you see people like tighten up in the 100 breast, but there they just weren't moving the last like 10, 15 meters, And I think in those races where you kind of die at the end of your race and maybe your legs like don't like work the same way, it might have affected people a little bit more. For me, like I set 3 national records, and that was like good in the 2 and the 8. Obviously, like I was quite disappointed with the 400 because I was 5th in Doha in a time that would have gotten 5th here, I think, or 5th or 6th, and yeah, I finished like 12th, didn't make the final, so that was like quite disappointing. But obviously the Olympic experience was great, you know, and apart from the pool depth, like the arena was insane. It was just like 18,000, 19,000 people. I mean, I guess you saw Indy trials with like 30,000 people, so that like
we peaked at I think like 22,000, so it was probably around the same crowd size.
Okay, yeah.
But definitely, like I understand at least a version of that atmosphere. Like it's insane to be in that room.
Yeah.
Like when Reagan Smith set a world record of the 100 backstroke at trials, I have a video of like the entire crowd going nuts, and you can just like feel it in your bones of that many people all cheering and yelling at the same time.
Yeah. For the 50 free, when like Manadou started doing the clap, I've never felt like you could actually feel the tension, you know? It was just everyone was just looking at each other, like eyes open like this, hands like shaking. Everyone was like, "Oh, what's he doing? What's he doing?" And then everyone just went with him, and it was so much noise. Or when like Leon was swimming, I remember we were in the call room for semis of the 2 free when he won the 4 IM. And when he won, like the ground was shaking, but like fully shaking. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe this. And like on another race, I remember I was like in the warm down area, and like so it's about maybe like 100 meters away from the main pool, and like they're screaming Leon so loud that like I had my AirPods on noise cancellation, and I could still hear them yell Leon, Leon, Leon. And I was like, this is crazy. Like the French were really, really rowdy, which made it like quite cool, I think.
And I mean, like the French team had like a phenomenal meet. It felt like every event there were like at least one finalist for them. And then I think it was the first time their men have medaled in the medley relay. I don't think they've done that before.
No. I don't think. But I mean, they were all like so good, you know. Like I mean, even Manadou. Like I don't think we expect. Like if you said a year ago, like he'll anchor in a 47.6 to win a medal for France. Like people would have been like, "What?" I mean, I get that he's been like 47 like long course this year, but like still, it's just and him getting a medal at like however old he is, 32 or something, you know. Just,
he's 35.
35.
He's in his Anthony Irvin arch.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he might win in 2028 now, 16 years later. And obviously like Leon doing what he did, and then the backstroke girls, like I think at some point there were like 2 finalists for backstroke and backstroke women, just so good, you know. They were really strong.
I like remember distinctly watching that 50 free final because I had been hyping up Manadou to any of the people who I know who don't know swimming as well as like, watch this guy. He's going to win a 4th medal. And I like screamed so loud that my parents downstairs were like, is everything okay?
I was in Turkey with him. I mean, like he was there at the same time in the Gloria Sports Arena in Turkey in June when I was there. And, he was just like, we were there for 2 weeks and we saw him shrink like 7 kg. And when I saw like, he was like saying this on his Instagram as well. And I was like, oh, this guy's just like going to go crazy. And he's going to go 21. And then he went like 21.5 at French trials. I was like, oh.
And he beat his Tokyo medal winning time by like a few 100ths.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Like that's the craziest part for me is that he's gotten faster since Tokyo.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but he's so talented. He's just like, I remember seeing a podcast with him where he was like, oh, you know, like I've decided from January 1st, I'll be serious about swimming and that should be enough, you know? And this guy just like, you know, 7 months of serious training and he just gets a medal and goes 21.4 or whatever it was, you know, like crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, like that 50 free final was like a razor thin margin. I know like Cam McAvoy was well out in front, but if memory serves, I think 2nd to 8th was like maybe less than 0.2.
No. So I think Proud was quick as well, but then from Manadu, I think Manadu might have been 21:55 actually, and like eighth was like 21:63.
Yeah, like
Like it
so
was
it
all
was.
like
Yeah,
within 1/100th. It was crazy.
it was an insane final. Like, there were so, and I feel like people adapted to the like. There was a lot of talk at first during the opening days of the meet about the depth of the pool and about like how it was affecting swims. And I remember distinctly watching like Lucas Martins after his 400 free. Like he looked kind of annoyed that he hadn't got. He'd probably been gunning for that world record.
Yeah.
But I think people adapted over the course of the meet because I mean, like I think the point when Leon Marchand went like 205 in the two breast and 151 in the two fly
Yeah.
is when people were like, all right, it's not that slow of a pool anymore.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I mean, but like on the first day, like Lucas Mertens and like everyone was out pretty much. Like they were all out at 200 on their PB pace, and they all like a lot of them added, and I think that might have been like like the races where you kind of die and where it's really really hard at the end. It's just like same with Marchand. Like he was he was under his world record at 350 in the 4 a.m. and then just like but I mean his. Still, yeah, like his last 50 of the two fly was also like one of the craziest things I've seen. Like
to take down two Olympic champions in the same night is like that's like I know we shouldn't be comparing people, but that is like a Phelpsian thing to do. That is a Michael Phelps level talent thing to do.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think Phelps did like two fly and then 4x2 in the same night where he went like 144.
Yeah.
Or like when he did like 4 a.m. and 4x1, or when like Ian Thorpe in 2000 he went like 340 and then he like beat Gary Hall on the anchor leg of the 4x1 to win the 4x1. That's that kind of stuff, it's crazy.
So for you on a personal level, what were some of the lessons that you learned from these Olympic Games? And like what went well for you on like a logistical level between your races and the preparation and all of that? And then what do you wish had gone better?
Yeah, so for me, like I think what I wish would have gone better is like I'd been qualified since like 2023, like April 2023. So like I was so ultra focused for such a long period of time, and I had like so many ideas about the Olympics and how it will go, how it will like run, and like I had very big expectations and like how will I handle myself and all that kind of stuff. And I'm someone that's very like I'm quite open. I like to talk to people. I like to like see the world, that kind of stuff. I'm kind of an extrovert, and like I was so I've been like thinking about like how concentrated I will be at the Olympics, like I will walk out that way like with music in my ears and be super focused and only focus on my lane and like block out the crowd completely and all of this. And that's just not me, like I'm not someone that's like that. So like I wasn't in my usual mental state before I started the 400 free. So I was just like so like introverted, like on my own. Like I didn't talk to anyone before, like on the whole like 2 hours before in my warm up and that kind of stuff. And yeah, just because I was like, I need to be super focused. But so that's like a learning that I took to the next day, where I was like, oh, come on, be yourself, like chat to people in warm up, like you always do, chat to people in the call room if there's people, look at the crowd, appreciate where you are, try to see if you can find your family in the crowd, and then just like go perform, go do what you do every day in training, and that worked a lot better for the next few days of competition. Also, one thing that's completely different, but like one thing I didn't realize at first is like it can be quite cold behind the blocks, and that's why you see everyone like wearing parkas or like a lot of clothes. And I just like walked out like short t-shirt the first day, and I was just like freezing behind the blocks of the 4 free. That's like a learning that I also took to the next day. And yeah, I was quite pissed after the 4 free, but then like my dad and like credit to him, like he helped me a lot. I was like, oh, I need to go train now. I need to like get this right for the 2 free. I need to go do like a pace set to feel good for tomorrow. And he was like, Lucas, you're ready. All right, you just didn't have your good race today, but the preparation's been awesome. So just go back, do a good warm down now, go rest. We'll go for a walk tonight, and you'll be great tomorrow, you know. And then I just like woke up the next day, broke 2 national records, did a third one like the next day in the 8 free, and the meet just like got better and better.
You know, I say similar experience, but it was not at the Olympics. It was at a club meet. But I had a similar, like, just a set of experiences when I was a teenager, like 17, 18, where I was taking swimming really, really seriously. And even like into my first couple of years of college, I was taking things like just absurdly seriously, where I was focused and I wouldn't talk to anybody, and I just put my headphones on and just be in my own space. And like you said, like I'm an extrovert. Like I love talking to people. I love learning from people. Like at any time that I can have a positive interaction with somebody, I always take that opportunity. And so at some point I just started being really silly behind the blocks of my races. Like I would just enthusiastically wave to my coaches with like a big goofy smile, or like I'd like play rock, paper, scissors with my teammate if they were next to me. And it kind of showed me like how, like, yes, you can take swimming seriously, but you got to also make sure you have some sort of yourself and your personality in there too, because that's going to be critical to your success.
Yeah. And like for me, it's just so different to who I am in swimming. Also, like in training, like I trash talk everyone. I try to make jokes. I try to be funny all the time. You know, I'm just like during sessions, and like I'm pretty good at training. So and like I perform at like a super high level every day in training while being like super happy and like super talkative, and like even during reps I'll make jokes. And like there at the Olympics I just completely changed my personality just because I think it's super important, you know. And yeah, it's a good learning, and you see it with like, you know, Manadu, like we're just talking about him, like he's an extrovert and like he puts on a show, you know, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna like show these people I'm with my French crowd, like let's do something that's never been done, let's start clapping, you know. And that's just his personality. That's who he is. That's like he's a little goofy as well, and you know, it just you just got to be yourself.
I'm not sure if you saw any of the clips of this from U.S. trials, but he was an Olympian in 2021. Zach Harding at trials, he would get out of the warm up pool, and like the crowd would be like, he was like, we'd walk up to the crowd and they'd be like excited, like, oh, somebody's walking up to interact with us, and he'd just throw his arms up, and the entire section would start cheering, and then he'd like turn away and throw it up to it, and the entire crowd would start cheering, and he'd throw his arms to the side, and they'd do like a wave with all their arms going down the arena. Like, we need people like that who are excited and having fun with the sport. And honestly, we need like, I know people think trash talking only comes from a place of negativity, but like we need more trash talking, because it doesn't have to come from a place of negativity. If it's between friends and if the interactions beyond that are positive, like it can be a fun way to boost the sport and get people talking and excited.
Yeah. I loved like the Noah Lyles stuff, you know, he's like super confident, just like trash talking and stuff.
Yeah.
When he loses, he's like the first one to congratulate his opponent, you know, like when he lost in the 200, he like, I mean, obviously he like did all the I have COVID stuff, but then like he went on Twitter and like wrote like a really good message to Let's see Letobogo, you know, to say, oh, congratulations, my friend, that was like great stuff. And I think that's great, you know. I think we need more of that in swimming. And maybe it's just like sometimes the stakes aren't high enough, you know. Maybe it's just once every 4 years that we get to like really have the competition, and you know, in track they have all the Diamond League and they get to race each other like multiple times a year, which is quite cool. But yeah, I think it can be good if we can bring that to swimming.
I mean, even like when Gary Hall made those like crazy trash talking statements against the Australian team in 2000, Ian Thorpe said like he was the first one to come over and congratulate them after the race.
Yeah.
So my last question for you, and this is one I was kind of excited to ask you. Is beyond being a foot taller, obviously, what do you think was the difference maker for you when you returned to swimming? And like, what do you think you in 2023, when you found out you were an Olympian, would tell yourself in 2020 when you were just making a return to the sport just for fitness?
Yeah. So I think I would have told myself to just trust the process, trust my dad, which I did. And I think I cannot be more grateful for the support system I have. My mom, my sister who swims, who's a great swimmer. You're going to be hearing a lot about her. My dad, one in Belgium, who just takes care of me really well. And then obviously my teammates everywhere. I never could have imagined one second in 2020. I remember going to a gym coach in, it must have been 2020. And he was asking me, "Oh, what are your goals?" And I was like, "Oh, I want to break 4 minutes in the short course meter 400 freestyle." So I was like, "Oh, that's my goal." And he was like, "Oh, it's going to be tough to work with me because I only do high performance." And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry."
You're like, "What do you mean? That's not high performance?"
I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm sorry. And then literally a year and a half later, I see that guy again and I go 337 now. And he's just like, "Oh, wow, I thought you didn't want to do high performance." And I was like, "Oh, well, things change. I just really enjoyed it." And, so I would have never imagined that I would travel so much for swimming. And, I'd go to the US, meet all these new people, train in England, meet all these great people, just participate in the Olympics. My dad, this was his 9th Olympics. He's worked on either as a TV commentator or a coach, 6 as a coach, I think 3 as a TV commentator. And when I stopped swimming, I was like, "Oh, here it is. It's never going to be me, but it's all right. I'll live my life. It'll be fine, And so to come back and in 3 years be an Olympian, just I'm extremely proud, and I can only thank my support system for helping me,
It's such an interesting story, and it's one that I think people gravitated to so well, especially now that there are so many people out there who are experiencing success at such a high level across all sports. But I mean, in swimming specifically, there are people who are in their 40s and placing in the top 10 in the country. Or there are people like Matt Griever's competed in his 7th Olympic trial. He's competed in every Olympic trials this century. So it's there's so many different unorthodox, but I feel like that word comes with a negative connotation. But there's just there's just different ways people are experiencing success and from different backgrounds. So it's just such a fun thing to see a story of somebody who originally walked away from the sport and then now comes back and in such a short period of time has achieved such great things. Lucas, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I'm really glad we were able to set this up.
Yeah, thank you, Ahmad. It was great. I love talking to you. We had some good stories as well, so I really enjoyed it as well. Yeah,
I always have fun talking to a fellow swim nerd. I got excited when I was reading how you were talking to Marsh about David Popovich's stroke and all these specific, because I'm that's exactly how my brain is hardwired. I will sit there on a Discord call with my friends and just be telling them oh my god, look at how his arm is coming up over the water, and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
I have terabytes of swim footage on my laptop,
Yeah.
And I just my sister is kind of similar to me, so we just go through it, and she obviously looks at the Australian girls, because she's a freestyler. I look at all the European boys and try to analyze, and I will read every single article about training, about what set someone did, or I'll just and then I'll come and be "Oh, I want to try that set and just see how I do." I just so it was great.
I used to watch the London Olympic. The full live stream. I was 13 and I'm just sitting there watching the full final session while I'm shaving down for a swim meet.
Yeah. I'll always go and put Thorpe's 340.08 before every 400 I do. I just watch it because it's so beautiful. It's so nice, so well swum. So I just always put that on. Like I know exactly how many strokes he takes, what his stroke rate is. You know, he goes like one lap breathing on the right, one lap breathing on the left. He just changes it up. It's just, you know, I'm a big nerd as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my number one guy that the number one race that I've watched, I think, is I watched Gregorio Paltrinieri's 1500 in 2022 when he took the race, like before my last mile for my college team. I watched him like take the race out crazy hard and just hold on, and I tried to do the same thing and I got beaten by 13/100ths of a second. But you know, I got beaten. This is my last little story for you. My third year of college, I got beaten by a teammate of mine by 6/100ths of a second in the mile. Oof. Where he ran me down over, like I was 5 yards from the wall and I was ahead of him, and 6/100ths of a second was the difference.
Oh wow!
And the year after that, I was stroke for stroke with a guy for the entire race. Literally, we would flip, like there's pictures that I have, like people took pictures of the scoreboard, and it showed like we were flipping at exactly the same time.
Oh yeah.
And he beat me by 13/100ths of a second. I just looked at my coach and I'm like, I don't know what I can do about that guy.
Yeah. You got finked.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I dropped a minute and a half between those two swims, so I can't be mad at the result.
Yeah.
Like it was just a unfortunate series of events wrapped in some very nice times.
I raced Bobby Fink in Knoxville this year, and I was like with him because like he's not that quick in season, and then he's just like insane at the big meets, you know. And then I remember I was like with him, like maybe a little bit in front of him, like at the 700, and I was like, oh come on, like you can outthink him, you know, or like there's one chance in your life you have at this, you know, you're never gonna beat him, like you know he's gonna go 7:35 or something crazy at the Olympics. Like you'll never have a chance to beat him there. But like if you can beat him here at Knoxville, there's like about 300 people in here that are going to be like happy.
Yeah.
And so I kind of saved up on the second to last 50 to like make sure I beat him on the last 50. And it was just like I was so proud. I was like talking to everyone about how outthinked Bobby Fink. But And then obviously what he's done after that. I mean, this year was incredible as well.
I mean, that mile was insane. Like I'm currently working on an article in defense of distance events because I keep seeing people be like, oh, we need less distance events at the Olympics, or they should just go straight to finals, or we need more sprints. And I'm like, no. The 1500 was the most exciting race I watched.
Oh, yeah.
Because
and the 800. And the 800 was incredible. Yeah.
I mean, I was so happy for Daniel Whiffen. I was so happy to see Paltrinieri win a medal again. But I mean, watching Fink in that 1500, watching somebody who always comes from behind completely throw away their race plan and take things out fast from the start, I was on the edge of my seat from the first 50 meters of that race.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when people tell me distance events are boring, I'm like, look at this.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Dan Whiffen is like one of my best friends. You know, like I trained with him a lot this year, and I just went on a golf trip with him. He's the best, you know. So I was obviously rooting for him in that mile, and then I saw, like, when I knew he wasn't gonna win, like at about like 1100, 1200, I was just like watching Bobby, and I was just like cheering. And I remember I was like sitting next to Felix Aubach and watching the race because Felix also trained with Dan a lot, and they're amazing friends, you know. And like when Bobby touched the wall and went 430, I went like, yes, you know. And then I realized, I can't do this. He's like my best friend's opponent, you know. And I just like looked at Felix like, oh, I didn't do anything. I didn't cheer, you know. But it was a great race. And yeah, I agree with you. Like I hope we see like a lot of like great races in the 8 and 15. And like, yes, I mean I wouldn't mind like having the 50s of stroke at the Olympics, but like I really hope it doesn't take away from like the 800 and the 1500 because like every year they're so exciting. Like Fukuoka, like the 1500 was crazy, the 800 was crazy. Like they're always they're always so good. You know, the racing is so tight, and you always have 2 or 3 guys in it that can win, and it's just the best.
And especially now, like I've been calling it the distance swimming renaissance, because we have like, I think it's something like 8 or 9 of the top 15 all time are all competing at the same time. And I'm like, I don't think that has happened in the 1500 and the 800 like in the last 50 years, where we've had that level of talent all competing and peaking at the same time. It makes it so exciting anytime people dive into the water for a race.
Yeah. It's so nice.
And I was so excited for Daniel Wiffen, and I loved his reaction, or his comments that he made after his open water swim. He's like, "This is my first open water swim, and also my last."
Yeah. But he's funny because like he has like unlimited confidence. It's crazy. Like he's the most confident guy ever. You know, I just. Like in training, I'll be like, "Oh, this is good." You know, we'll see the set, and we're like, "Oh, this is a good set for me. Like, I think I have a good chance today." He's like, "You have no chance. You have no chance." Or like, I remember at your European short course, you know, we'd just be like swimming down after 400 prelims, and you know, me and Felix are both in the final, and he just comes up to us and he's like, "There's no chance anyone beats me tonight. Like, I'm just gonna dust everyone." And I'm like, "We're in the final as well. You know, we're also trying to win." Like, and then he goes on and he wins, you know. But for the open water, he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna, you know, there's 2 steps to this open water swim." He said to me before, and he was like, "First step is go 102s. Second step is remember step number 1." I was like, "Dude, so you're gonna win with like 10 minutes? You know, you're gonna win by 10 minutes?" And he's like, "Yep." And then he dives in and he tells me after a race, "I took like 3 strokes and I knew I had no chance." These guys are just a different level. Yeah.
I love that kind of mentality. Like, I love that he was openly just like, "Yeah, I want to break the world record."
Yeah.
It makes it so much fun to have people like that. And I disagreed with the people who were like, "Oh, that's cocky and arrogant." I'm like, no, that's just having fun. Like, that's just being vocal about what you want to do and setting that bar, because you'll raise the entire level of competition that way too. Yeah.
So you see his last 15 in the 800 where he like tried to go head down, but then he like needed to breathe because it was just like too hot. Yeah. Well, in training, we've been doing like hard sets, and like to train the last 50, we do like a hard set and then like push a fast last 50. And he'd just like go and try to go the last 50, no breath, you know? So he'd just like be holding like 55s for hundreds. And then we'd have to go like a 50 all out. And he'd go like 55, 55, 55 for hundreds. And then he'd just like go no breath to like the 35. And then he'd like almost die, pass out, go like 3 quick breaths, and then just like sprint to the finish, you know? And he was like, "Oh, I'm going to like come back 25, like faster than Bobby." And like he almost did, you know? He almost outsplit Bobby on the last 50, like 0.3 or something, which was like so sick.
I also loved that, like, the main thing that I saw beyond Daniel Wiffen wins a gold medal is former Game of Thrones star wins a gold medal.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, that's cool. And his twin brother as well, Nathan, was in that.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
That world record that he set in the 800 free, I think it was at Short Course Europeans last year.
Yeah.
To take down a Grant Hackett world record is in itself an amazing accomplishment. But to take down a Grant Hackett world record by, like, I think it was 4 or 5 seconds, and
4 seconds,
a record that was set just weeks after you were born.
Yeah.
That's that puts you in a unique place in history.
Just coming back 339. Like splitting 340, 339, it just makes no sense. I was watching it and like I was like timing every 25 on the stopwatch, and at some point I'm like, "Oh, why is he going like 13.5s all of a sudden? Like, why did he just speed up so fast?" And he just like kept on going like 13.6, 13.6, 13.6, and then like dropped to 13.5, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is incredible!" And he was just like going further down, like further and further down the world record, and then like. That was great as well, because it was like a small arena, but it wasn't that like maybe like 3,000 people, but like it made so much noise when he broke the world record. It was really cool.
He's definitely a guy, like, now that he's won a few Olympic medals, like, the sky's kind of the limit of, like, what he can do. And I think now he has that confidence of, yes, I can hang with the best in the world.